Welcome back to Tea with ALSA. This episode, Dea Manaj takes us on her journey of growing a YouTube channel and launching her clothing brand, Manaj Design. We discuss how she created a strong online presence and explore the connections between mental health and social media.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, YouTube. Where did
yes.
that idea come from? When was that
Okay.
moment where you were like, I'm going to start a YouTube channel?
Okay, so YouTube started around, I want to say 2017. 2017, I just finished uni. I'm 26, I'm quite old. But yeah, so I am. But yeah, so I started YouTube around 2017. I just finished uni. I came back from traveling and I was a bit like, didn't know where I was going. Like, I was like, what am I doing with myself? Like,
Standard mindset after you graduate.
Exactly. It's like I graduated, I was working in a coffee shop and I was like, okay, like this is great for saving money to go traveling. Went traveling, absolutely loved it. But you come back and it's like you literally lost because you're like, okay, everyone's like,
reality hits when you're back.
Yeah, and it's everyone's also like got onto their like the ladder, like they're like, okay, now we're working, like, and I'm here like, what do I do? So I didn't go into like a conventional job. I literally went to Albania for 2 months and filmed a documentary.
What was the documentary on?
It was around the growth of marijuana. So
Cool.
it was me there with literally a tripod, a camera, and a GoPro. And I was like, okay, I'm really like, I'm going to do this. Luckily, my surname is also related to an Albanian reporter that works for the BBC.
Okay.
And that opened a lot of doors because everyone thought that I was somehow related to this guy.
Yeah.
So I managed to get a lot of like interviews with investigative journalists who were doing like the growth of marijuana, also cocaine at the time, but it was very fresh. Like cocaine was not really like the market that was, but the market wasn't really there. It was marijuana that was basically growing all over. But yeah, so I went and I did that and I tried to get interviews with people that were helping, growth of marijuana, and it went really, really badly. Like when it came to actually interviewing people that were involved, there was a hush that was like, we can't talk about this. It's just like,
you would imagine.
And it was at a time when the elections were coming. So it was even tighter on like what could be said because things were getting raided and there was just a lot going on. But I was there for 2 months and I basically did a half documentary, which was great. Like I got my experience, but I came back and it was like, okay, this isn't completed. And I still don't have a job because the whole point was to sell it to Vice or to sell it to BBC or someone, right? And I just felt like I just couldn't do that. So then I worked in the tech industry for about 3 months, got my feet in, hated it. And that's when YouTube started. So I started making videos on a whim, basically okay, I've got a camera. What can I do with this camera? I've already paid money for it. Like, what do we do with this? We started doing music reactions. And at the time, music reactions were like, basically that's what you go to YouTube for, was music and music reactions. So I started doing that, got a lot of popularity, but a lot of like negativity as well. But when you're like just starting out, that's just like a part of the game. You're like, okay, gives a shit. Like people don't like me, people like me. So you went in,
you were like kind of mentally prepared to do all that.
I just didn't really I don't think I really understood what I was doing. I was just like, I'm just doing this. I didn't even understand how to monetize my videos. I was like, I was basically essentially working for free for like 3 to 4 months of opening my YouTube channel. And that's when it got the most growth. And then I went viral on a video that I think got 2 million views in like, I want to say like 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I was like, this is fucking weird. Like, I was like, I don't understand this. And I started getting a lot of death threats, like getting a lot of like, it was just everything at once. And I was like, what is going on here? But then that's how my channel basically grew and became what it became. And I basically solely worked on YouTube for 6 months. It was just my camera, my room, and video after video after video. It was just to generate content, like working with artists. I've then started knowing how to monetize my channel. So I started doing all of that.
Yeah.
And then 6 months I was burnt out. I was literally like, I'm burnt out. I can't do this anymore. Like I'm literally just like.
So you didn't really go in with like a set plan?
No, there was never a plan. There was never a plan. And I remember going to a YouTube event and these people had studios, they had management teams, they had like stats, they had everything, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just there like, oh, how did you start your YouTube channel? I'm like, just with a camera in my room.
Bedroom?
I'm like, oh, what old school style? That's like Zoella style, right? Because
Right.
my generation, we grew up on like, YouTube was like very like amateur, like everyone was just doing it for fun.
So that really surprises me because when I think of YouTubers starting off, I just think of someone in their bedroom, like, let's just give this a go. So the fact that like the game has really changed now, and there's people who...
Well, it's, you know, once you get to a certain follower count, there's the events are very much tailored around working with brands. So you're pitching. So we're pitching to brands like ASOS, and we're pitching to brands like made.com, and just any like really big brands, and they want to hear what you can bring for them.
Right.
And that's why you need the team, and that's why you need the management, that's why you need the studios, because once you gain that following, it's really how you pitch yourself to brands and who you can work with. But yeah, so mine was very niche, and it was like trying to get the right people to sponsor my videos, and mainly that was artists who wanted to get their videos out, studios who wanted to get their artists out. So we worked a lot alongside that, and that's how I basically carried on and kept it going.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack here. Like if we just backtrack, you said you started doing those like reaction videos, reacting to music. Why do you think, I mean, you probably don't know the exact answer, but why do you think they're so popular and like people, because they do really well, and people really enjoy seeing others react.
Have you ever watched a reaction video?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, what do you like from it?
Turning the question on me.
Yeah.
For me, I think so if you watch like an Albanian one, it's like seeing other like non-Albanians like appreciate your like country's music, and you're like, damn, like we're doing good. So I feel that's probably one of the main things. That was
the niche that I grabbed. Yeah. I grabbed an audience that was very much like, you know, we had the Middle East and we had North Africa, and that was the audience that I mainly generated. And they were very much, you know, I'm a white female, like that was something that obviously probably worked to my favour, especially with the kind of music that I was reacting to. So it was mainly rap music, and I'm still reacting to, but mainly rap music, and rap music doesn't generate too much female audiences. It's mainly like men. So men watching a woman essentially is what like it kind of became. But yeah, I mean, I grew with that and like tried to adapt that and
of course.
Do what I wanted to do as well. But once you've set up your niche, it does slightly get a little bit difficult for you to then generate different content, because, for example, I love traveling. So like that's what I wanted to incorporate in my channel, and videos that would do really well were videos that was, you know, I went to Morocco, for example, and that did really well because my audience base was already from that region. So it worked. But for example, if I did trips to Albania and I posted that content, it wasn't as high viewing. And I think that's what the trap that a lot of like YouTubers go down. They're like, once they've established something,
you kind of know what works and you have to stick to it. So how do you balance kind of, you know, doing those videos and not making it like artificial, or like keeping it authentic?
I'm always authentic. Like there's not one video that I've done that I'm not. It's just my genuine
So you're
reaction.
like selective with the kind of music.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, of course, there is times when you're gonna have to do promotional work for artists, and that works. If I listen to a track from an artist and I really know that I'm not going to genuinely enjoy the song, I offer them a different package. So the package isn't a reaction video; it's a introduction, and then people can check out the artist afterwards. And that's just how like I kind of do it. But of course, everyone's different. Every YouTuber's like different, I guess. But
that's really interesting. And how does your like clothing brand come into this? Was it something that like organically came from your YouTube, or did that separately?
That was completely separate. So clothing, I used to like basically from eBay, like Depop was really big, I want to say like 6-7 years ago.
Right.
A bit longer, I don't know, but around like 7-8 years ago, Depop was really big. I started selling a lot of stuff on Depop. I was also selling a lot of stuff on eBay, right? And it was just basically what was trending at the time. So I would like buy a jumper, I would like basically draw around it, I would like stitch stuff on it and like try to sell it. And I was like, I always like loved like making a bit of side hustle from like selling a few items, even like old stuff that I wasn't using anymore. So clothing was very much like naturally like something that I really wanted to like get into. And when I did YouTube, well, I do YouTube, but I did merch. So that's how I started the whole clothing thing. And that's how I like basically found out about suppliers and who to contact, about numbers and what would basically sell, I guess. So merch was something that I started and kind of ended with like 1 or 2 like releases, didn't really carry that on. And then opening Manaj Design, that was about, I want to say 3 years later. It was during the pandemic. And when everyone kind of like got locked in, I started making TikToks. And I'd never really like hit the Albanian market before, because all my videos were basically not really including Albania. Like I featured in some like Albanian reactions with other channels, but I never did really work on like the Albanian scene that much. But it was always something that I wanted to like hit, because it's my people. Like it's something like I'm very like proud of my roots. I'm very like, you know, I'm patriotic, but in a good sense, not in like a overly, you know, like.
Yeah, I feel like that's the point of this podcast as well, is that tapping into that like connecting back to your roots and stuff.
But yeah, so I started making TikTok, and TikTok, I basically did relatable content around Albanians and things that we do, and that generated a lot of interest at the start of like the pandemic, and that's when the clothing idea started coming into play. And I was like, I really want to open something that's got like an Albanian twist, maybe some Albanian saying. So I'm wearing one of them now, Sunin.
Nice.
So then that kind of started to play around my head, and in around June of last year, I started like sampling some different like stuff that we could do, but something kept holding me back. I was like, I want to, but no, but am I going to be able to generate like enough interest on it or not? I started playing around with the idea, started throwing it out there on some TikTok videos, and I basically got quite a lot of like feedback, and people were like, yes, please open it. Right. So I made the page, and we got traffic straight away, which was amazing. We started doing some teaser videos about like, you know, opening an Albanian brand, and that again got a lot of interest. So then we started talking to suppliers and started basically mapping out. I do this with my sister, so we started mapping out what we wanted to do. So we had 2 different designs. One of them was a Taha Zamran jumper, and the other was Nuplakanzili. I've got like that here. So we did a tote bag, and we did a t-shirt and a hoodie, and then a jumper, that Taha Zamran. And we were like, okay, what are we going to do? Should we be a bit like realistic on like how much we want to basically sell and how much we'll actually sell? We underestimated by a lot, by the way, because as soon as we started releasing it, we literally sold out on our jumpers in around, I want to say 4 days. So we had to restock like straight away.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And it was around the festive period. So what kicked me was, so my granddad died, and then I was like, I'm like, he had this thing about, because we had 4, so my sister, my 2 cousins, we were always like 4 girls in the house. Right. So I was born in Albania. And like my granddad was always like, oh, like our legacy is not going to be like continued because Mana is going to be cut, because guys going to get married, and you're not going to like, you know, carry it on.
I have a lot of girls in my family as well. It's like
so he's always like, oh yeah, I really want you guys to keep the name.
Aww.
And then the name blossomed into the brand, and it was like, we have to do Mana, like Mana needs to be a part of the brand. So then that kicked me to say, you know what, I'm gonna open it and see how it goes. And we did, and it went really well, and we're still going. And yeah, that was kind of how it started. And it's a strange one, because I never really hit the Albanian market before. I didn't know how they would respond to certain things. But I will say Albanians are very supportive, like very supportive.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
And how were you, like, how did you anticipate them to react? Did you have fears that it would kind of...
I thought it was going to be a flop completely.
Really?
Yeah. I thought we weren't going to sell anything. I thought maybe a friend of mine might buy like 1 t-shirt.
Out of pity, no. That's really interesting, because to me, I would assume, I feel like, because it kind of links to like the YouTube stuff. And what I was saying earlier about people like enjoying seeing our own like people doing things. So I would have gone in expecting it to do really well. But I guess it's better to kind of underestimate it.
It is. And it's like, you know, when you go into a launch, because at this point we've done about 3 like hard launches, and then obviously we've been releasing stuff in between that as well. But the 3 launches, honestly, the first one was like okay, like, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe 2 sales, maybe 3 sales. That was like my whole thing. And then obviously when we realized that we actually did have the products were good and people liked them, when we did our second launch, honestly, I wanted to cry. I think we launched at around like 12 a.m. and it was my sister's birthday. So it was going into my sister's birthday. And I said to her, it's a bit risky doing it at 12. You know, people might be sleeping, like, might be a bit weird, like, launch something at that time. But we went for it. Our gut was like, yes, we're going to do it. We launched, and I want to tell you, like, I was looking at my phone and I was refreshing and I was like, oh my bloody God. Like, I was like, there is no way, like, we've done so well on this launch. Like, it was just such a nice, like, feeling to see people actually enjoy what we, like, our follow-up from what we've done. And we learned quite a lot from our first launch, because we were like, we know what people kind of like, let's kind of stick with that, and let's try to do that in our next. So yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, I think everyone with like the first stage, you're obviously going to come up with a lot of challenges that you learn from. And now that it's like been running for a while, would you say that your YouTube presence kind of links into it, or do you try to keep those completely separate?
They're completely separate in my opinion.
Really?
I will definitely promote my stuff when I'm making a YouTube video, and it will definitely always be linked. But I would say my TikTok is more closely related to my clothing. And I wanted to differentiate between YouTube, because YouTube, for me, that was very much, that's music, that's very much like, that's what it's concentrated on. And I don't want to like taint that, because that's like the audience that I've built, and I'm really proud of that audience.
Yeah, and you worked hard to build.
Yeah, I mean, we're on like 461,000 followers on YouTube, and like it's amazing. Like, you just don't think people would really want to like follow you. No, but like, I remember I was in Morocco, and I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to Morocco, but a lot of people are like, they it's like a hustle and bustle. Like, everyone wants to, like, you know, speak to you all the time, even if they don't know you. It's just like, you know, the street markets, like street vendors. And when I went there, I was like, it was quite like at the early stages of my YouTube, so I didn't really know what impact I had on like the community. And if anyone knew who I was. And I remember on the last day there, I was like, okay, no one's really like stopped me or anything like that. I was like, you know, maybe I'm not that big as I thought in Morocco. Like, so maybe I'm just like really like insignificant. And I remember on the last day, I was trying to find something like a souvenir to like take home with me. And as we were walking, someone was like screaming my name, like, but at the time my channel was called There You Are. So I didn't have my name, because I was scared to like put my name out there. So it was like, there you are, there you are, there you are. And I was like, what is this?
Who are they talking to?
And my sister was like, Dea, I think someone's literally saying your name. And I was like, I don't think so. She was like,
they're just looking for something.
Yeah, she's like, no, I could literally hear them saying, there you are. And I was like, wait, what? And then I turn around, the guy's like, he like holds me, and he's like, oh my God. And I was like, hi. And then he was like, I watch you on YouTube, I love you, you react to this, you do this. And I'm like, yes, that's me. And then it was just like such an overwhelming experience.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I was like, okay. And then from there, honestly, like, people like have stopped me, even in the UK, like, and it's just like the most like bizarre, like, you're like, oh, because you don't know them, but they know who you are because they've watched you. And I have the same reaction when I watch people. Like, there's certain people that I watch on YouTube and I've seen them, and I'm like, I get a bit like, oh my God, like, I've watched your videos.
Exactly.
But you know, it's a great feeling. Like,
it's very nice. Cool. It must be very weird. You probably go home like, that really just happened.
Yeah, no, but it's nice. It's nice nonetheless. But yeah,
that's cool. So you spoke about your YouTube channel, and I feel like we kind of brushed over it a little bit. But what did you study at university? Was that linked to kind of what you're doing now? So
I did media and communications. Okay. So it's very much linked to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I did a lot of exploring around that kind of thing. Yeah, I haven't really got out of the media side of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's cool when your degree can kind of link into the work you're doing.
Yeah.
And then, so you started your YouTube channel. You said you were doing you were just going with the flow, seeing what was working, seeing what's not working. Has that strategy kind of changed now? Do you have is there like a strategy that in place? And because for me, I think something that I find really interesting is you're saying you kind of keep your clothing brand identity and like your TikTok and your YouTube separate. Is that like difficult to do in your own head, or because for me, I feel like it would all piece together for me. So how do you kind of keep them separate, and how do you strategize your YouTube channel so it doesn't kind of mold into one thing?
Yeah. I think the reason I kept it separate is because, for example, I knew what my niche was on YouTube, and I was very much like happy with what I was doing, but I wanted to diversify it because I wanted to do other content and things that as humans, we're not set to do one thing in life. Like, I don't feel like we need to be in one little box and that's the only box we can stay in. And tomorrow I might be like, I don't want to do any of this. I don't want to be involved in anything that I'm doing right now. I want to do something completely different. And I was reading this book, and it was like basically saying like pop culture has made us think that like having a passion and like that's all well and good, but like it's actually just like the work that we do and what fulfills us at that time. Like, that's a chapter that I like right now, but in 1 year's time or 2 years time, that's something that I might not even relate to. I'm always evolving as a person. I'm always evolving, thinking about what I want to do and where I want to be. And I think you kind of have to have a bit of that to like be able to differentiate like what you're doing and try to keep them separate. Like, it's like, I don't know if they are separate, but I feel like they are separate in my head.
I think if it feels like that in your head, then it will definitely come across. And I think it kind of also relates to like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Because if you're trying different projects, sometimes something's going to work really well and something isn't. So it's nice to like have that division, I guess.
100%.
So how do you strategize your YouTube now? Is it still like mostly focusing on reaction videos, or do you have like ideas of new things you want to try out?
So at the moment, it is essentially a reaction channel. It very much still kind of embodies what it embodied before. And I want to kind of keep an element of that because I feel like that's what people connected to in the first place. Yeah. But I think what I'm more strategic towards is what I post, and it's not so... Personally, I used to do about 3 to 4 videos a week. And that's why I feel like I got burnt out from doing YouTube videos. Now it's more strategic what I'm doing in terms of if it's going to get paid, if it's related to something that has a lot of like, buzz at the time, or like there's a lot more, like now it's very much more focused on like the money that you can make from it, basically. It's sad to say because, you do want...
But it makes sense because you have to... Yeah. It has to be something that's going to be sustainable.
Yeah, basically, like that's something... I'm proud of it, it's great, but like, you kind of have to move with the times and see what's going on. And at the moment, you're also like, I'm also looking at what platforms are actually like kind of at the top now. And personally, from what I see, TikTok is basically where everyone is. Like that's... And they're shorter videos, they're more condensed, you can do them from a phone. It's just...
Yeah, I think everyone's attention span has gone down. We like watching short content.
Even on TikTok, now that you can actually like move the videos. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm moving the videos.
I know.
I haven't got time for a 10-minute video anymore.
They've made TikTok longer videos, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. It's a 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
It's too much.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
No, but for TikTok, you're
just not used to that.
No.
So is that something you're experimenting with, or are you kind of sticking to the rapids?
I'm kind of doing the shorter style videos. That's more, but like I think even with TikTok at this point, I feel like there needs to be more strategy in the way that I approach it, and that's something that I work towards. I've basically diagnosed myself from TikTok, but I think I have ADHD from like the TikToks that keep on coming up on my FYP. Yeah. And I'm like,
maybe don't go to TikTok for that.
No, I know you shouldn't, but you know what? I'm looking at I'm like, yeah, I match these things, and like I very much move with like, I'm very much like, I'm like doing this right now, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and I can do this, and then I can also do this.
How do you deal with that in terms of like running your businesses? Because I think it's very easy to, and I think like with this podcast as well, something we spoke about when we're setting up is like you have all these ideas coming out and you're like, okay, we actually need to just stick with one now and get things going.
Yeah. I kind of write lists. I've got loads of lists in my room.
I love a good list.
Yeah. I've got like all these little notes and like things that I'm like, okay, like yesterday I got really inspired by something. I was like, so we've decided that 3rd of December, it will mark a year of us opening the business. And yesterday I was listening to a song and I was looking at the video clip and I was like, oh my God, this is so inspiring. So I'm literally sitting there and I screen record the video and I put it on my notes. I'm like, I'm going to forget this. I know I'm going to forget this. Put it on my notes. Promo video, use XYZ part, whatever. And then I'm like, oh crap, wait, I think we should do something else. And I'm like, I'm like writing on my notes as well that we need to add X, Y, Z. So I've got all these different notes on like different devices, on my laptop, on my phone, on my iPad, on some like paper.
I like to say it's like an organised mess. Because I know where it is, but at the same time, yeah, it can be hard to find things.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of like how you work.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to like organising the launch, will you just be like scuttling around trying to I've
got a good team. I've got my sister who's amazing. I've got my mum who is the best, basically. She does all the packaging, she does everything. And now she's gonna get a salary for this next launch. She will definitely get. She's like, look, I'm doing slave labor here. I'm like, Mum, it's all a part of the process. Bear with me. You're gonna get there. But she loves it. She loves it really. She's like, I love this. This is great because she's always wanted to like sew, and she's always wanted to like. She's really organized. She's like your typical OCD Albanian mother, right?
Absolutely.
So she's amazing when it comes to anything that like we're doing around that. She's like, okay, you need to think about aesthetics because honestly I'm terrible with aesthetics. I don't know where I like basically got this following, but like I'm so bad with aesthetics. I can't like for the life of me figure out good aesthetics. So like my mum, amazing. She's like, okay, you need to position that there
it's like
and put this here. Genuinely. And my sister's like, oh my God, did you just post that? I said, yes. She goes, did you see what you had in your background? I was like, no. She's like, it's disgusting. Delete it right now. So I'm like, okay, sure. We've got like this like checker team, like being like, okay.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's like a family dynamic. Is that fun? Or can it get stressful?
No, it's okay. It's good. It's mainly good. I bounce off of it. It's fine.
Yeah, I think it's cool as well.
I've got X, Y, Z things that I need to do. And I get really overwhelmed. I'm like, I have no time. And this is where I think the ADHD is. Like, I'm like, I have no time. And I'm like, looking at this list and I'm like, oh my God, like, I have to do this all right now at once. So having like people to help is...
For sure. Yeah, I think that's something people just generally, we tend to think like, okay, I need to do this on my own. Or like, it's not even like we think it properly. It's kind of an unconscious thought we have where we don't want to rely on others. But I think it's really important to recognise that and realise the benefits of having a team around you.
100%. I mean, I don't think we can't basically function if we don't have people around us that will help us and even for moral support, just to, I'm here.
Just having someone to rant to, honestly.
Yeah. Genuinely.
You mentioned earlier when we were talking that you also kind of work in the court system in your part-time. How do you, because you've already mentioned how like it can be quite overwhelming having all this work on, how do you balance that with kind of external work you're doing?
So at the moment, a lot of things that I do are on my own schedule. So I work freelance with every aspect of my life is freelance right now, which is scary as hell because there is so much instability in that, but there's also stability in the instability. Because I've realised I like my own time a lot.
I like that, stability in the instability.
I love my own time. Like I love being able to manage what I want to be doing. So working in the court system, I work on a freelance basis. So it's very much, if I can drop things, I will drop things and it will be done. So that's just genuinely how I go around it. And yeah, I mean, the work that I'm doing there, I really enjoy as well. So it's like, it's like a side of me that I'm like, I like this side. Like I like doing this. And it's also kind of got me back to education because I'm trying to finish off some certifications, which I might need for like to progress basically. So that's kind of got me back into like studying. So I'm like trying to keep myself busy because when I'm not busy, I'm like, what's going on? Like, I'm not computing, but yeah.
That's really cool though. So is that like a side hustle or is that something you want to progress?
I think I want to progress that, but it will just
go with the flow.
Yeah, right now it's just I like it for now.
Yeah.
But we'll see in the future if that's something that I keep going towards or break from.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I wouldn't expect that, so that's really cool to learn. And how do you kind of balance all of that with just like your own time and having like time with family and friends?
I'm now on selfish mode because I feel like for about like 2 months I've been on like I need to be out, I need to do this, I get massive FOMO, right? So I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to be everywhere.
And I feel like lockdown like just increased that completely.
It did. And it's like, crap, if I miss this event, then what if that event doesn't happen next year and I'm here and oh my God, it's literally a battle in my brain, right? And now I'm like, no. Like, I think I decided last week that I was like, no, I'm not doing any activities. Now it's on what I need to do and what I need to basically progress. So I'm literally going to be antisocial for a little while until I get everything that I need to do in order.
Yeah.
You need to be selfish with your time because I love spending time with my friends. I've got such a good network around me. But it also feels like sometimes I'm wiped out, like my energy.
Yeah, it is draining.
I'm like, I love it, but I'm like, oh my God, like I need a 2-day like recovery after like just any like outing or whatever I do.
Yeah, I hear that massively. You need time for yourself as well. And
yeah.
Just time to process whatever's going on around you.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're just like go. And it's very easy to fall into that lifestyle, I think. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, something kind of random. I guess we've kind of been talking about how you balance time and how you kind of strategize things. Moving on to something like slightly more creative, how did you think to tap into like the kind of Albanian identity when you were designing your clothes? How did you come up with like the expressions you wanted to use? All of that kind of creative process.
So I think anyone that creates anything will tell you they're inspired by literally everything and anything around them. You know, nothing is an idea that is completely unique to you. There is always someone that you're influenced by or that you've got a little bit of inspiration from. And I think tapping into like being like making content for Albanians, I think I realized what we kind of relate to as people and what we like to watch basically. And I was basically like a viewer and also a content creator. And I was like, okay, like this is great. And this is something that I know I'm like trial and error, right? But like, it's like, for example, this jumper that I'm wearing right now, it's a very like, the phrase in itself is eat your eye, right?
Which, non-Albanian speakers, they'll be like, what is going on?
And I think when I made the design, it was like, oh my God, eat your eye is very figurative, right? And it's something that you can actually like draw out technically. So we did, we drew an eye being eaten and it's got the evil eye as well because we very much believe in that whole, you know, superstition thing. Right. So that was kind of like my headspace when I was like creating that. And then the other phrases, it was just like from like sitting down with my sister, we're literally brainstorming. We're like, okay, what can we do next? What's this? What looks good? What looks nice? What's something that will like, you know, capture an audience? What was something that would look nice on a jumper or on a t-shirt or whatever? And it was just working with that basically and seeing how that would work. And I don't know, like I think that's the like, it's a very chaotic, like let's just draw everything and see what looks good and what doesn't. And then
I mean that's a process in itself. I think it's cool as well, like if you're on the train, if another Albanian sees that, they can like chuckle to themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And I think what we went through was like, you know, you've got like all these expressions on like t-shirts that are like Japanese, and you've got like French, for example. Why can't you have that with Albania? Like, this isn't, for me, it's very much like, yes, I want to tap into the Albanian audience. That is the audience we are aiming for. However, why can't someone that's not an Albanian speaker wear this as well?
Exactly.
Because it stands out. Like I had a lot of people that were buying that weren't actually from Albania, but they had some relation either through knowing me, through knowing someone that was from Albania, and they were like, oh, we want to wear that because it looks nice. And I think that was the biggest thing for me. It was like, oh, you're actually wearing it because you actually just genuinely think it looks nice and you want to be wearing that.
Exactly. And I think loads of people wear like Japanese brands or like something that has Japanese writing or French writing, whatever, and you don't necessarily know what it means, but it just looks cool. So
I think our biggest struggle was when we first launched, we had a lot of problems with like people basically stealing our ideas. Not even stealing ideas, but basically stealing our designs. So in Albania, there's a lot of like basically shops or houses that will sew like or embroider something within a day, basically. And we started seeing a lot of brands that were like established from a long time that did like personalization, stuff like that. And they would basically just rip our design and put it on a jumper and then sell it in larger quantities. And I remember confronting one of like the people that were doing it. She's like, I've been in business 25 years. And I'm like, that's great, but this is my design. Like and it was a butchered design. It wasn't even like, it was just a very butchered design. And they would do promotional packages using those images that we would have our brand. And then we had another brand doing the same thing, and they would use different colorways as well. So it was like, basically like we had a look like Anzuli, and it was printed on white jumpers, which we hadn't released yet. And it was something that we were looking to release, and they'd done a black and they'd done a white. And it was literally like word for word, our design, the placement, our placement, everything. There was no originality in like what they were doing. It's so
devastating because you work so hard to like come up with an idea, get everything perfect, and then you launch it.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
It's like you kind of don't know. You're kind of stuck because it's like it's very new to you as well, and you know, getting things trademarked, copyrighted, it's very expensive. A lot of people will like, you know, and we don't have one set like thing that we're doing. We do different designs, so it's like it's very difficult to like get that all basically legally.
Yeah, it is a very long and hard.
I'm sure you know that part. Yeah. But,
yeah, I think when it comes to things like that, one of the main things you can do that's not like going through the legal process is just taking care of your customers and like building a connection with your customers so that they know that, you know, your products have more value than kind of a rip-off.
100%. I mean, like, I think we tried to like basically ingrain what our values are as a company. You know, we're a small company, sisters run it, and like, you know, we very much work hard with UK suppliers, which is it's very rare for people to work with UK suppliers, but we work with UK suppliers. Our stuff is really high quality, and we try our best to basically do a good job, and also be creative with it, and also try to connect with our audience, because without them we wouldn't basically be where we are. So
exactly. How do you connect with your audience? Do you find that people are really kind of interactive?
Guys as well, but girls are amazing. Like, genuinely so lovely. No, but so lovely. Like, genuinely, I'll have my customers, if you see our conversations, it's them giving me ideas for my next collection.
That's amazing.
Like, oh my God, you should do this. Oh my God, you should definitely do it for dogs, or like you should do it for kids, or like giving me ideas that I am not even thinking about at the time, which is like, I'm like, oh my God, thank you. Like, it's like, I really want to see you progress, and like they're there all the time, like launch after launch. You're like, thank you.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're definitely getting the kind of like woman supporting woman.
Yeah, I mean, even like our brand is unisex.
Yeah.
We obviously want to reach our target isn't just females.
Yeah,
but
of course.
It is lovely to like basically get to interact with other females. Like, it's
That is amazing. I guess we've spoken a lot about kind of how you got started, how you strategize, things like that. You mentioned earlier in our conversation that when you first started out, there was a lot of like, not a lot, but there was some backlash, and there was like these negative comments. And I think everyone who knows about YouTubers or online presence influencers, you know, it's very standard that you're going to get online hate at some point. Is that, and you said at the start you didn't really care, you were just like, whatever, I'm doing what I want to do, and that's that. Is it something that like became harder to deal with, or is it something that because you went in with that mindset, you just never had to you never started to care about it at any point?
I think it'd be a lie to say that you never care about it. There's obviously insecurities that we have as people, that when someone touches on it, it doesn't feel nice, it doesn't feel good. And I had that a lot. Like, there would be certain triggers or certain comments that would really not be okay for me to basically like look at, because it would upset me, or it wouldn't be nice for me to look at. So I'd have this filter, which I'd have certain words I didn't want to see on my comments. I would have them filtered out, and it would be really hard sometimes, because I would want to like click on like my filtered comments to like see what was there. But I tried my hardest to like basically keep those comments like away from me as much as possible. But it definitely comes in waves. Like, there will be a point where everyone's really liking your content, really like great comment section, and then there would be a video or something that you touch on, and it just gets like crazy reactions in like a negative way, or like And I feel like with TikTok as well, like you just don't know what your comment section is going to look like. Like sometimes it's fantastic and sometimes it's just horrid. Like you're like, oh my God, like what the hell have I done in this video that's pissed people off so much? Like, and you know, it won't even like be for me. It would just be something that they were saying. I'm just like, I'm so triggered by this comment right now. And it's like, sometimes it will trigger me and sometimes I'll be like, I don't really care. Like I'm just laughing it. But like, I remember like it comes in waves. Like there's points where it does affect me. And I think that's when my like insecurities are probably at like their highest, and then like having a comment doesn't really help.
Yeah, of course.
And there's times that it just doesn't faze me at all. I'm like, whatever, it's a part of the process. Like it will die down in 2 days. Nothing lasts more than 3 days. Like that's just on the internet. There's nothing like all this like cancel culture, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't last. It like
so
we get it.
People
then
are
it's out.
so committed, and then they're like, okay, we're back to the regular thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's good to go in with just knowing like it is a completely normal thing, and it's really cool that you said about filtering the comments. I feel like that can be hard to do. Like you said, you sometimes like click on filter and see, but it's good to like have boundaries and like set limits to things. Yeah,
100%. And I think like now, like everyone's like really like big on like talking about mental health and stuff, which wasn't something that like I would say like growing up we really spoke about at all, especially from an Albanian community. Like we don't speak about mental health at all. And it was only till like this year that it affected me personally that I was like, oh wow, like we really need to be talking about this more. And it's something that I do want to introduce into like what I speak about, because I do think it's very like it's very important for like basically how you like if your mental health is not good, then everything else in your life is literally just like at halt. Like I feel like it stops you like it from, you know. But yeah,
that's amazing. And I think it's something that literally everyone relates to in some way or shape. Like everyone goes through moments where the mental health is suffering. So I think it's really cool if you can kind of tap into that and I guess be a driving force for our community as well.
Yeah, 100%.
We do need to like have that conversation.
Both men and women. Like I don't affects us both.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you do to keep your mental health in check?
So what I do to keep my mental health in check, I guess, is just I speak a lot, as you might have told, but I speak a lot, and like I try my hardest. If I'm feeling a certain way, if I don't feel well, if I don't feel like, I know when I'm starting to like decline a little bit, and that's the moment where I need people the most. And I try my hardest to keep people close to me at that time, because if I push people away, I'll just get more into my own thoughts. And then I'll filter out everything else. And then it's just like this, like you basically isolate yourself and you're like keeping everything in. So I try my hardest to speak about whatever I'm feeling, or like, you know, for me it's anxiety. Like I get a lot of anxiety, and like I've always had anxiety like my whole life, and I've made jokes about it. Like I'm so anxious, like oh my God, this anxiety, like but I've never actually like experienced it until like this year. Like I actually had like a panic attack, and like I literally thought I was gonna die. Like I was like, this is it. Like I'm gone. Like but yeah, I'm still here.
You're fine.
We're definitely but
in that moment it feels like
and I think I was like, it just came out of nowhere, and you're like, well, out of nowhere, but like as in it might have obviously there might have been triggers, but like in my head I was like, wait, this is not me. And I was like, literally I couldn't get to sleep. Like I was like, I wasn't medicating myself, I was using a lot of like herbal stuff, right? And I was like pain, like, so I did this thing where I like got everything that I was interested in. So I was like, okay, I want to buy like some paints and like do some painting or whatever. And there was literally me painting and crying whilst painting. And I was like, why am I crying whilst painting? But it's all a process.
Therapeutic.
But it gets you out of that dark place. Like when you're feeling, you know, like for me, it's also like, I love nature. So like being outside. Amazing. No, but it is great.
It's refreshing. And obviously with lockdown, we didn't have, well, I mean, going on walks became like the new thing. Everyone was going on walks. But it just, because that's the only thing we were doing, I think loads of people probably like took a hit to their mental health during that time and stuff.
100%. But I think nature and like just like having a network really is what I basically do to
I think it's helpful as well to I always try to remind myself that what I'm thinking is not a fact. Like thoughts aren't facts. They're just like thoughts you're having, and it is hard because sometimes it becomes really overwhelming and you start to believe what you're thinking. But yeah, it's kind of putting those things into check and trying to like deal with things early on and not letting things build up.
Exactly.
But yeah.
And there's this exercise my sister used to tell me. She was like, you've got to pinch yourself, right? And it's to basically stay present in the moment that you're in right now. Like, don't think about anything else, just pinch. You're here, you're here, you're here. Like, and that was a really good one. Also, counting to 5, amazing. Like, you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I don't know why, but it just does something.
Yeah.
You're basically back in the moment. You're like, yeah, I'm good.
I'm going to be using this once.
Yeah,
I think
they're
hard
amazing.
It's very easy to like just start thinking, and then next thing you know, like you're in your own head, and you're like, wait, what is going on? So yeah, that's really cool though that you want to explore that. I think that's really amazing thing to do. So kind of to end on and kind of reflective notes, what would you say to people listening who maybe want to, have been thinking about starting a YouTube channel or maybe starting a clothing brand or any kind of online presence? What advice would you give them?
I would literally say just do it, because we're in our own heads all the time. We're like, should we not? Should we? Are we going to get criticised? Are we going to get this? Don't think about anything. Don't think about anyone, what they're going to do. Go into it, both feet, and just say, I'm doing it. Like, this is it.
Right.
Like, I'm just like, honestly, just do it. Like, I know, cliche as hell, but there is no like reason for you to be in your thoughts so much. If there's something that you even like maybe want to like progress or you're thinking about, what's the harm in trying? Like, what's the harm in trying?
Yeah, because worst case scenario, it just doesn't work and you're like, all right, let me try something new.
Yeah. You can do what I did. You can use a name like There You Are, so no one actually knows that it's you who's making the content. But that's up to you. But like, yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly. And what kind of lessons have you learned along the way that maybe you wish you knew before you started and like would be helpful for someone?
I think as much as do it, also know your competition. Also know what you're willing to kind of like basically sacrifice for what you're doing, or like know like where to kind of maybe stop as well, because you need like a point where you're like, okay, like if it's business or if it's YouTube, if it's business you need a stop point where you're like, okay, this is how much I'm investing, I can't invest more than that. You don't want to lose.
Like do it, but also do it sensibly.
Be mindful about what you're doing, and basically just you have to think about there may be some consequences to your actions. So like do it, but then also like if there is something that like you're gonna have to think about it in the future, like what you're gonna do with. But then again, like it's all a flow. It's all a process.
Yeah, it's
like
true. I heard somewhere lessons. Like if you have 80% of stuff sorted out, like forget about the other 20%. It'll figure itself out.
It will.
And I feel like that's kind of a mindset you should go in with.
110%. 100%.
You can't, because you can't prepare for everything. You kind of just have
there's literally nothing like you can prepare for. Like just do you and hopefully that's hope for the best.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah, because if you're starting off as something that's not you, it's not going to be a very sustainable thing to keep going. It's going to become quite draining.
100%.
Would you have expected to be here, like from when you started and like to where you are now? Would you have ever imagined, like, or was that something you very much were like, yep, this is my goal, this is where I'm going to be?
No, it was never this is my goal, but I always want to talk myself up to a certain degree, because I think you just have to, as a person, you have to like think I'm the shit to some extent, like then like
have to big yourself up, otherwise who else is going to do it?
That's what I'm saying. Like if you like you genuinely have to be okay with yourself and who you are, and like think that someone else would also accept that as well. And like I guess I didn't expect it, but I'm also not like
shocked.
Not in like an arrogant way,
no,
but like
I know
as in like like I'm not.
If you're working hard and you're thinking about
it's consistency.
Exactly.
It's like if you're consistently doing something and you're doing it over and over again, you will get there.
Yeah,
like
it's bound to pay off.
It's bound to pay off. And also like people change career paths. People do things like in their 40s and their 50s, and like I think we all have it in us. Like it's just some people take a bit longer to like basically get it out of themselves. But yeah.
Cool. To end off with, what can our listeners look forward to from you, from the clothing brands? I know you mentioned the launch.
yeah, a launch, of course, the winter launch, 3rd of December, and also more content on TikTok, YouTube. So yeah, get me on that.
Amazing.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Well done.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Tea with ALSA, and make sure to check out Manaj Design's latest launch. We have many more incredible guests lined up for 2022, so make sure to like and subscribe.